Good morning. It's Monday. Welcome. This is the Success Secrets for Business, Family, and Life channel. I'm Vickie Helm, and this is the Coffee Break Show, and it is brought to you by Metadigm Digital Network. I'm so glad you're here this Monday. Today could be a day of reckoning. Today could be the day that we get some sort of idea in our head of how to move forward. And we talked about a long time ago that we were going to continue down the road of we're living in this post-pandemic economy, and I want to let you know what's up. I want to let you know what you need to know. We're going to have some fun today. This is the Coffee Break Show. So glad you guys are popping on. Do me a favor. Put your name down below so I can say hi to you, so that I can say hello and share with you. If you're new here, we are the Coffee Break Show. We go live Monday through Friday. We share tips, tools, techniques, inspiration, motivation, and those things that are going to help you create thrivability in your future. We go ahead and bring experts on here, and we have such an incredible time. If you're new to the Success Secrets for Business, Family, and Life channel, we've got shows, we've got weather, we got news, we got information, we've got everything. Top of the morning, Mr. Brian Rogers. So glad you're here. And I'm going to talk about something today that I think, hey, thank you guys. Happy Monday. Thank you very much for being here. Good morning. It's a beautiful start to the week. Yes, and we are going to begin right now. Let's talk about that. Okay, so if you haven't been paying attention, there's this little thing called the pandemic going around, and it's blowing up pretty much in 3 countries, Brazil and India and Russia and the United States. Those are kind of like the top 4 countries that have just explosions right now of cases of COVID. And we started talking, I should say Scott and I should have probably brought Scott on this morning anyway, because we were talking about this weekend. We were just talking about the possibility of another form of lockdown. And that lockdown may not be that the government comes by and just says, well, you're on lockdown. But you just may be locked out of everything because everything is going bankrupt. And right now, I just want to talk about, there are 18 huge retail chains, 18 of them, that Business Insider has been talking about that closed. And some surprise me. So I literally up here pulled up this notes for me so that I could see what actually was happening. And right now, there are so many restaurant chains, so many things. Lucky's just filed bankruptcies. Papyrus just filed bankruptcy. But what's interesting about Lucky's is a market chain that I grew up with in California, and it's owned by Kroger. And it said after Kroger announced that it would divest its stake in Lucky's Market in December of last year, grocery industry observers wondered whether the regional chain might be in jeopardy. And the following month, Lucky's filed for bankruptcy. And then again, another organic grocer, the Earth Fare, filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. And there are 50 natural food stores that were set to shut down. But some locations have been acquired by other owners. Then Noah's events venues. These are these big event venues that offer spaces for like gatherings of some sort, whether it's conference or wedding or whatever. And in February, they filed bankruptcy, and Noah's locations are closed. They're leaving engaged couples around the world. All these things were booked out in advance. So everybody who was getting married suddenly had to scramble to find a new place. Pier 1 Imports, couldn't even believe it, but Pier 1. It's a Texas-based company, and it said it would shut its business after it failed to find a buyer. Nobody would buy it. It's a C-bill business. Michigan-based art chain Art Van Furniture filed for Chapter 11 as well. And this Modell's Sporting Goods filed Chapter 11 in March. And as it keeps going down, it's just like a nightmare. Food First Global Restaurants, a parent company of Brio Italian, Mediterranean, and Bravo Fresh Italian, they filed Chapter 11 as well. And we look, True Religion filed bankruptcy. J. Crew filed bankruptcy. We're talking stores here, but here, Neiman Marcus just filed for bankruptcy in May, citing exonerable pressure from the coronavirus pandemic. And Stage Stores and owns, it's like Goodies, Sam Goodies, and the Beals and Pebbles and Gordon. This Stage Stores owns a bunch of stores, and all those stores are closing. They just filed for bankruptcy again. So Garden Fresh, you're looking at Garden Fresh restaurants. They did this. And JCPenney obviously is gone. It's like March 27, off-price retailers Tuesday mornings filed for bankruptcy as well. So what's happening to our supply chains? Let's see, the U.S. arm of Lepain Quidonine, I probably said that wrong, I slaughtered it. They also filed for bankruptcy. 98 locations. These are GNC. These are all mall type stores that have filed for bankruptcy. But Chuck E. Cheese, I remember taking my kids to Chuck E. Cheese. Chuck E. Cheese just filed for bankruptcy. So what is happening to our stores? It's not that we're just locked out. It's that we're kind of locked up. And so you're saying to yourself, good morning, all. Thank you. Happy Monday, Ryan. Let's look at this. They've niched themselves out of the space. Nobody wants to go to 5 different places to get what they need. Yes, that is true, except for the restaurant industry. So some of the things, good morning, MJ. I just love to see that you're on. Thank you. So what's happening here is all of our stores, all of our things are shifting. Good morning. Wow on the bankruptcies. Yes, which has left millions of people unemployed. Commercial real estate is in a death spiral. Look at that. How many people are going to the mall? Well, we can't go to the mall right now. And so what's happening? Wow, Tuesday morning and GNC, what's going on? That's right. That's a big thing right here. I want to talk about that actually. This is a key thing. We'd like to say that coronavirus is really, really huge and that it's going to wipe out everything. And that's a possibility. But some of these things were kind of set to wipe out anyway, just because there was some movement on online businesses. And it's just like Brian said a second ago, nobody wants to go to 1,000 places to get everything when they can go to one shop, get it all, and have it shipped to their home. That's part of the problem. The next part of the problem is that a lot of these businesses right off the bat were buried in debt. They just kept, you know how somebody is like, they got a house and there's equity in their house. And every so often when the equity goes up, they just go right up to the equity thing, paying off all the bills. Our corporations are drowning in debt. In fact, it's not just this year, but the previous 2 years, 70% of all the global corporate defaults were American-made companies, because they're buried in debt. And if you don't have that consumer shopping, it's just like if you lived paycheck to paycheck in a company. Let's see, I want to see what Brian's got to say. A lot. Not all are reorganizations, not closures, and not all are choosing to go this route because there really isn't a stigma right now with bankruptcy. That's right. There isn't yet. And that's probably coming. Online retailers create a huge fit to brick and mortar stores. That's true, they do. And look at this. You have asked the $1 million question. It's true. It's that $1 million question. What is going on? Well, our system is so heavily dependent on consumers that when we don't have them, the consumer, the businesses are living just paycheck to paycheck to paycheck. Not everybody is like Sarah Blakely, who was like, hi, I'm a billionaire and I own my company outright. My company has no debt. And that's the thing. We've forgotten how to bootstrap success. And so what happens is we were living in a credit-free society. I mean, just so much, so much, so much. And so what ends up happening is these companies can't handle the wave of what's coming. And the wave of what's coming is consumers have dropped. Now, I told you last week that I found a piece of data that said the upper middle class, which is people who make like 80, 90,000 a year to about 250, because the 1% is at 450,000 and up. But at the 250, the upper middle class, they have ceased spending by 16%. And these retail stores that are closing, they're built around and surrounding people who have a lot of extra cash at the end of the month, and they can go out to dinner all the time. They have disposable cash that allows them to go and buy and purchase on whatever they want. But here's the key. It's not actually disposable cash. It's disposable credit score. It's debt. It's that plastic thing that you can whip out and go whip and buy anything you want. Well, they've stopped purchasing. They've come to a screeching halt. And these companies were very dependent on that group of upper middle class workers and people who are there. I just want to say good morning to Anna. How are you? I love your little red heart, by the way. I want to talk to Murray Joe. We need new and nimble business models where we can pivot on a dime to keep up with economic, vicissitudes. Listen, this is very interesting because this is a skill set. And you have to be a really strong leader. So what happens is that when you pivot, you're not actually looking at the attachment to the direction you were going. You're looking at the attachment to the goal you have. And some of the best CEOs in the world, I mean, some of the best are so married to their product, to their thing. I want to talk about a good pivot that I think Steve Jobs did. And he did it in a very nimble way, just like here. So he had computers, and he created the iPod. The iPod was something that, 1,000 songs in your pocket? And so what happened was he didn't try to make computers more powerful. He literally invented something else. That's pivoting on a dime. And that pivot, most of the companies aren't willing to do right now. It's like maybe you don't even know what way you want to pivot, or maybe you don't know how you want to pivot. But in pivoting right now, Marie Jo, it's such an important thing because the first thing you have to study is there a supply chain to where I want to pivot? Is there a supply chain to what I'm going to be doing? Because if there isn't a supply chain, you're going to have to look at what you can pivot into in the future. A lot of these companies that are there, the supply chains are just not there. They're just not in anywhere. So I want to look at this. Supply shock meets demand shock equal bankruptcy for many. Scott, this is the whole point. I was talking to Scott this weekend, and we were talking about this up front. And the reason I want to tell you this is because I need to give you a warning. I need to go ahead and get to the point where you are understanding what the future is going to be like in a post-pandemic economy. So right now, you have to ask yourself this. Do you think our coronavirus numbers are going to go up or down right now? I believe they're going to go up. The reason I believe we're going to go up is because there's not a lot of social distancing. A lot of people feel like, you can't tell me what to do. You can't make me wear a mask. And that's fine. That's cool. That's your choice. And I think wearing a mask is respecting each other. But I just think the virus count is going to go way up. We're looking at the virus count from May, and we still have the virus count coming up as it spreads from Florida and Texas and all the warm states. And pretty soon we're going to get the states and countries that had a lot of, we're going to be in the streets protesting without our masks. So what happens then? What happens when things get where we're bankruptcy here and our pandemic numbers are going up? How long do you think you're going to need to supply for? So I've told everybody, whatever you want to supply for winter, you need to start doing that right now. And so what are the things that I think should be on the list? Well, I'm like toothpaste and soap, but whatever you use, whatever you want to have backstocks of that for at least 6 or 7 months. I'm not sure whether they're going to close down this country again, but I bet they're going to, because there is talk that we weren't even through the first wave, that this is still part of the first wave. There's talk that this is a second wave and it's going to be much bigger. But I can guarantee you, when a governor closes off a state, when 3 governors close off their state, they do it because they know how bad it can get. And I think that we need to look at their example, that the example of what's happening in Beijing, the example of what's happening in the world right now outside of the United States. And to me, this is such a fundamental look at when you look outside of the United States and you start saying, well, what's happening in China? Well, they're having their second wave. Well, whatever is happening there, if we don't have the protocols that we can't obey here, then we're probably going to go through that second wave. You do not want to be around the second wave. You want to take care of it now. They're going to be the cheapest they're going to be right now, because we're hitting what Scott said earlier. We're hitting that here. Let me get this back up. Come on. There we go. Oh, nope. Sorry. Let me go back up. There you go. It popped up. Supply shock meets demand shock. That's what's going to happen. So what you're going to do is just be out of the way of the demand. Just be out of the way of it. We're going to see more closers. We're going to see more stores closing. There are people right now who are just afraid to go outside, even though they can. They're like, well, those people went to the clubs. I want to tell you, I think it's Florida. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the state of Florida, they just went ahead right now and they said all bars are closed, because that the bars and everything else that's happening, those places are like super spreaders, I guess. So what's happening is, how long can that bar guy be closed? How long can he be closed before the second wave hits, or before he has to close up and let everybody go? We've got like probably by the end of the month, we should be close to, I think, around 50 million people unemployed. And I do not believe, in my opinion, that this has been handled well. But how do you handle it well? I'm like, I don't want to be the first to cast a stone, because I don't know that I could handle it any better than the president did. I don't know. But I do know, because it wasn't handled well, it's going to spread well. Because it wasn't handled well, it's going to continue spreading well. And that means that you have to step up and be the thing that you want to see in the world. Let's see. Well-studied MJ. People are like this. Inventive, creative, flexible, willing to pivot often. Yes, and the pivot has to happen right now. Now, only 20% of the Britons made their quarterly rent payments. Now, I want you to think about that. Only 20% made their quarterly rent payments. That's big. That's big time. Look at this. Rent due 3 months at a time. Ouch. And that's absolutely unbelievable. But it's going to grow. That's what's going to be happening. Let's hear. I want to go here. J. Brown's brands were inevitable go down as Lex Wexner tries to, to Epstein are exposed. Yes, that's really true. Reese has jumped in. Hey, Reese, good morning. Hi, it's Monday. I'm so glad you're here. Thanks for being here. Hadn't thought about that, Ryan. That's good, though. Great to see you, Risa. Going to pop down here with Scott. The supply shock will just get deeper and deeper across more and more industries. Yes. And that's going to be the thing. The thing is that all the economists are saying, some are saying, well, we're going to go back to 1928, and some are saying 1945. And I agree. I think we're going to go back to 1945, where, 1945 was an interesting year because we shop by catalogs back then. That catalog would come to your house. You would order. It was that era's Amazon. But what happened was, you'd get that catalog that would come into your house, And now we have the internet, and some people may not, I don't know, but now we have the internet. Look at this. Florida and Houston just closed the bars, anxious to see how Vegas does this coming month. Yes. And as we go back in and there are super spreaders, this thing is going to happen. It's going to continue to grow. You want to be out of the way. You want to be out of the way completely. You don't want to be a last minute shopper. This is not Black Friday shopping or the day before Christmas shopping. You want to be out of the shopping way as soon as you can. And then you might want to make some plans. Like the group of people that I have in my life, they have sworn that they will not go to bars and, socialize in the way we have. We've kept it so that we can trust that the other person has not exposed themselves to that virus. So I have a friend of mine who is a Marine, and he had a young family. And his group, somebody went out one time, brought the Rona back, and everybody in his group got bit by the Rona. And now his family, all 5 of the people in his family have the coronavirus all at once. That's like the worst nightmare when your group here is solid together and you're like, don't break the chain. You're going to have to find that chain for yourself. And if you want to know what coronavirus is like, I have a very generous, kind, courageous, loving friend named Maya McNulty who wants to help the world not get the coronavirus. And she has very lovingly shared her journey of having the coronavirus. She was one of the first people in New York. She spent about 69, 70 days in the hospital. She's recouping now. She had to learn to walk and rebreathe and everything again. You can read her story. It is on my Facebook page, my personal Facebook page. And I want to talk about this. This supply shock will get deeper and deeper across and more industries. We'll see a bit of inflation. We're going to see some deflation in some areas and inflation in others. So you want to maximize your investments right now. And to me, it's like whatever you invest in, make sure that you get your, it's like, do you have a year's supply of toothpaste? Do you have extra toothbrushes? Do you have dental floss? What do you have? What do you need? And get some more of it right now. Don't plan to be out in that winter. You want to be away from the winter coronavirus because that is going to be huge. It's just the same way as it's exploding now. It is going to explode. Let's look at this. I'm thinking this might be Ryan. I'm not sure. Did you also see that 33,000 positive cases were recorded in error, according to a third-party provider through Advent Health? I have not heard that. I'm not even sure I believe that. But I would love to see the article or where that was. I'd love to send it because, we're recorded in error. 33,000 cases were recorded in error. That's just crap. But even if it was 33,000 cases, that's just one day. We've been hitting 36 to 46,000 new cases a day. So even if that error was there, just take 30,000 and multiply it by a week times 7, then take out 33,000 and then look at the number of cases there are underneath there. Now, whether more cases are in error or not, I'm not sure. I'm not sure whether I would believe that or not. I don't want to risk anything and get coronavirus at this point. I just don't want to. Let's see. South Texas is having a big second wave. I work at our art center and our local museum, and many of the travelers are from South Texas headed to the state of Colorado. Yes, we know that. We know the Texas people come out here for vacation nearly every year. I like this. Ryan, I haven't seen that. Is that error state specific? Ooh, yes. I want to know that too. Ryan, can you give us some more information about that? Because I'm totally curious. And could you get a link like to an article or something that we can look at? Thank you for that. That I want to know more about that. Scott, the supply chain has already slowed critically. I cannot fathom how it will slow anymore. I know we don't think about that. But in 1945, the supply chains were very local, and we we haven't revved that up. We've got a storm ahead of us, definitely. Wow, I hate to hear that. My friend in New Jersey said his county is not allowing any out-of-staters. If they see your out-of-state license plate, they can exit you out of town with fines. Thank you for this right here. Here's Mia McNulty. That's her story on the Facebook page. Thank you very much, Karen. I appreciate that. Here we go. Local. We Americans will see how little we actually manufacture or make here. And I want to say this. If you have a neighbor or a friend that has a business and you have to pay $1 more too, it is the most important time to make those investments in our infrastructure right now. Local business is going to be everything. If you know where your supply chain is locally, right now, the most important thing you can do is support that supply chain. You can make it so that you're buying from people that are here. Someday in the future, there will be little, if any, traffic across state lines, county lines, and hot zones. Yes, planning is almost a crapshoot. It will have to be. So hashtag right here, buy local. Thank you, Karen. This for me is really important right now. If you know somebody that has a business in your country, you want to support that business. And the reason why is because that supply chain is local. If it says made in the UK, made in the USA, made in Australia, and you live in Australia, you live in the UK, you live wherever you live, you want to start supporting those businesses and buying from them, because it's more important to have those supply chains shored up. And getting secondary supply chains is really hard. We're going to see a time where it's going to really slow down. The opportunity to get what you want, you're going to be like, hi, I ordered this, but it's 10 weeks wait or 12 weeks wait or whatever weeks wait till it gets there. Right now, we're at about, I would say 3 to 4 weeks is the wait on some things. You can't even get books. Like if you order a book this way from Amazon, they're asking for about 2 weeks from it. So what happens is that slowing supply chain, once it gets more disrupted, that we're 2 to 3 weeks back order is going to be 5 to 6 weeks back order, 10 to 12 weeks back order. And there are just going to be companies. Sorry, I got to take a sip here. There are going to be companies that are closing right now and it's going to start affecting other business. Like when restaurants close, those vendors no longer have people to ship food to. And those farmers no longer have, selling less. Everything is going wee small like that. We want to make sure, hey, Peter, nice to see you. Dude, we got to catch up and just say hi. I miss you guys. Hang on a second. We want to be able to get those things prepared right now. Like this, Scott, we're citizens of the world, but this pandemic is making our world smaller. It certainly is. It certainly is. I want to do this. Hey, there it is. BruckersHospital.com supply chain. Advent Health cuts ties with lab after, it's a lab that did this. 35,000 COVID-19 test results were found to be unreliable. 35,000 tests, 19 tests results were found COVID-19. Wow, 35,000 COVID-19 tests results were found to be unreliable. The unreliable is the key thing. What does that mean? Unreliable, yes or no? What does that mean? That's a good one. I'm going to read that after this. Thank you for that, Ryan. That is something I really wanted to read and see. Ryan, thank you for sharing that. I want to go here. Look at this. Anyone need a freezer for good stocks, garden harvest, or any extras? Good luck getting one. That's true. There's none with their Sears. It's very hard to get one. You're going to have to find one at a garage sale. So it's like what you have right now is a world that is starting to get through the shortages. And what I mean by that is I wanted a second freezer. No one can give me a projected date. Supplies for parts come from China. So there you go. And so what's happening is, thank you, man. We do. I miss you too. We're so dang busy, Peter, right now. I wish I could. We're almost done. I got a new book coming out. I got two coming out I'll have to tell you about. Let's see. I've seen that here too. My point is the supply chains are going to be less. And by wintertime, let's say by Thanksgiving, there's not going to suddenly be more. There is the second wave of this virus is moving around the world. And there are also people who've had it who are very scared of going out in public and getting it again because it would be tumultuous. And, it's interesting. Maya, when she talked to us, she said there was something called overloaders, which are things that after the COVID happens, is what they have to live with, like getting rashes on your body, or in her case, she was like, some of her hair is falling out. It's these things people want to be away from. People want to be away from all, and I am pro being away from. I'm pro social distancing. I have been social distancing since December, before they announced it in the United States. Still been doing the same thing. I go out and literally if I go out, I don't see anyone, no one, unless they're in my inner circle, that group that is my community. And they agree. They don't see anyone but us, and they're in that circle there completely. And so I want to tell you this. My opinion, I'm not an expert. I'm not a doctor. I am a strategist. And when I look at the strategies that are in place right now, they're not working. They're not working to keep coronavirus at bay. There are people who don't want to take part in wearing a mask. They believe that this is a plandemic. And I actually believe that part of it is very much a plandemic. And so, okay, it's a plandemic. Let's say every conspiracy theory is actually 100% correct. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's correct. What matters is it's here. It's no different. It's like when 9/11 happened, nobody talked about what plane hit the building. They talked about the buildings going down and helping the people. They worried about the investigation afterwards. But right now, this thing is here. It's going to be here. It needs to be handled. And it needs to be handled by you. Nobody's coming to save you right now. So you have to put in those things right now that are going to save you. You're going to have to make some choices. Do I buy that Gucci bag, or do I buy extra supplies? Do I buy that $60 new pair of shoes, or even, oh my God, it's 40% off, so now it's $25? Or do I go out and buy $25 extra supplies? So I will tell you this, the supplies right now, those are going to be important to have. And if you don't need those shoes, make a different choice. Look at this. When testing becomes the point of infection, you know that we've got troubles brewing. And that's right. Thank you, Peter. I love this. I love getting compliments like that. Thank you. I like this. I live social distancing, except when I have to get out. Yes. It's like social distancing, very important. Help me see what you see, because I have a suspicion there are a lot of false positives. And for a virus that has 99.7% recovery rate still doesn't equal to shutdowns. Thank you very much. That's really a great thing to start right now. I want to talk about this because the thing is, it's not that they don't want to shut down. I think the issue is that when the people who get coronavirus, even though there's a recovery rate, it's the recovery piece that we're talking about. It doesn't matter what the recovery rate is. It's the hospitalization of that recovery rate. Yes, some people get through it easier than others. But every time somebody needs to get, even whether it is a what do they call it with the asthma when you get a albuterol treatment or something to open your lungs up, or you have to be put on one of the ventilators. Whatever the recovery is, the hospitals weren't designed to have a group of 50,000 people a day or 40 or 30 or whatever thing constantly in the hospital with the coronavirus. It's not that it's the recovery rate, it's how long the recovery rate is. It's how much, physical wellness is lost in that recovery rate. The issue with your recovery rate is that you think it's like getting a cold maybe, and like the recovery rate, you're and then everything's fine. The truth is, not everything has been fine afterwards. People have had to have occupational therapy. People have had to have respiratory therapy. People have had to have ongoing treatments. It's the recovery piece of it that's huge. And whether the recovery rate is at 99.74%, it doesn't mean that the person who got the virus in the first place ever will return to that 100% of themselves or 100% of it. The other thing is, it's so virulent that if you're like, and you've got it, then it spreads everywhere. The other thing is that it can spread without anybody even having symptoms. You can be fine and not even know you're spreading it. And bam, it spreads. It's like this silent thing that's made to tax the systems. And if the only way to get that down is to have everybody socially isolate for a bit, I'm okay with that. I don't think there's a conspiracy theory under that. Americans love money. We love money and we make lots of it. We make more money than any country in the world. I think we're super rich. We have so many millionaires. They're everywhere. We love our money. There is no way we would say, yes, I want to ruin the economy and not have any more money coming in. That's not us. So part of me understands that even though this recovery rate is nice, it's what's the recovery afterwards. I mean, tons of people recover from car accidents, but they're never the same again. They walk with a limp, or they can't think straight, or they have damage done. We don't know what that is. And I'm personally unwilling to take that risk. And I hope that answered that question for you, Ryan, for me, because I think the recovery was the hardest part for New York. They wanted to flatten the curve because people were at the hospital all the times. Yes, and I like this. What matters is how we respond. And so what I feel is important when we talk about how we're responding is that it hasn't been all easy. The first time this went up, we were kind of low on PPE, and our staff, everybody that was on the front lines in the beginning, everybody that's still on the lines right now, they're working ungodly hours. They're risking their families. They're risking everything just to make sure that we're safe and okay and have care. Supply shoes are always there like cars. Yes, possibly. I'm not sure supply shoes are always there like cars. I'm not sure that's going to be the future right now. I like this. I buy Bitcoin. I do too. Sovereign bankruptcies will arrive this fall and winter. Protect yourselves. Thank you. Yeah, I'm buying more. I like this. Thank you. You guys, this is a wicked good conversation today. I'm already over 30 minutes. Is there a list of basic supplies and suggestions online anywhere? Good question. Good question. I suppose you could Google that. Basic supplies to have, and maybe something will have it. I want to talk about this. 99.74% recovery rate will crash as the viral mutations mount. Those who recover still have massive bills afterwards. That's true. The amount that this is costing us is huge. Let's see. I like this. Thank you, Ryan. Ryan, thank you for being open to looking at it from another angle. Thank you for that. And also, thank you for sharing that article. Here we look at everything. Glenda. There are several options online. I'm not recommending these sources, but here are two I just Googled. Thank you very much. I love that. And this is why we love you, Ryan, right here. Always open, always open. Discernment is the understanding of both sides and where they meet in the middle. Because where they meet in the middle, that's where the most truth is. Let's see. Scott, I get it. Yes. And more importantly, then the hospital bill is the long-term physical, mental, cognitive results and the sequela that our population will experience. Yes, this is the issue right here. There's so many unknowns. To me, it's not about, well, there's such a big rate of recovery. It doesn't mean the rate of recovery puts you back at your 100% of who you were before you caught the virus. I'm unwilling to take that risk right now. That's just me. Every town needs a free box for the free exchange of household needs. Yes, 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 yes. And we have that in our town. We need to stock up for our future because there will always be shoes and cars. That's right. Thank you. I get what you're saying now. Last one. Yes, exactly. Hospitals are not prepared for the level of care they need to perform for these victims. And I think that's really what's important here. So that was a lot for Monday. But what I would like everyone to know is the supply chains are going to thin out even a little bit more. There's going to be some deflation in certain areas. And then there's going to be some inflation in certain areas. But eventually, we're going to be just in inflation. So if you're going to invest in things right now, having a year's supply of toothpaste, having a year's supply of whatever you makeup or whatever medication or, whatever you have, I would get it now. Yes, recovery just means a heartbeat when they wheel you out. It doesn't mean you recover to where you were before. I'm going to leave that there. That's something to think about. Recovery means a heartbeat when they wheel you out, and that's it. All right, that's what I have for you guys today. I love you so much. Mwah! I'll see you on Tuesday where we're going to have Tuesday topic and have a little more fun. Talk to you later. Bye. Really, it's going to be fun.